The first story I wanted to talk about is actually about Deanna Lorraine. Now, some interesting clips have surfaced from her recently, so I wanted to cover those. But before I talk about those clips, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a reminder of who she is and some of the positions that she's held up to now. Deanna Lorraine got famous actually running for Congress. Surprisingly, this is ballotpedia.org. I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but it's basically a website that talks about different candidates' stats, I guess, elections they ran in, biography, so on and so forth, political positions. Deanna Lorraine ran, her last election was March 3rd, 2020. That's when she ran last. She's obviously a Republican, very, very extreme. She's a QAnon person, like full-blown, believes the QAnon conspiracy, thinks that Trump is gonna save the world, blah, 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 the whole 9 yards. Like, she's way out there. But she ran against Nancy Pelosi in California, and she got 1.8% of the vote when she ran. Nancy Pelosi got 74%. Honestly, Deanna Lorraine had pretty much no chance of winning at the time, but, you know, it got her name out there. She got some public attention, she got some press, and she was also, surprisingly, a host on InfoWars, on Alex Jones' show. She was a host on there for a while. There's this PolitiFact website. I don't know if you guys have heard of PolitiFact before or not. They have a page for Deanna Lorraine. They basically take things that these people have said, statements, they rate whether or not they're factual. I thought it would be an interesting exercise to just kind of glance through a few of the things she said. No prominent Democrats have had the virus, but the list of Republicans goes on and on. Obviously false. She was saying that to imply that this was an illness that was created by Democrats to hurt the Republican Party intentionally, and that's why none of them are getting sick. Like I said, she's a QAnoner. She's full-blown conspiracy theorist, like out of touch with reality level shit. She says of COVID-19 that Dr. Anthony Fauci was telling people on February 29th that there was nothing to worry about and it posed no threat to the U.S. public at large. Mostly false. And you can actually click on this and get more information on it. Like they write entire articles about this. If you guys want more information on any of these, you can just go to Deanna Lorraine's PolitiFact page and click on any of them and find out. Oh, those are the only two that they've rated apparently. Anyways, with all that being said, I wanted to watch one of these clips from Deanna Lorraine. Like I said, she was an InfoWars correspondent, as you can see on her laptop here, a MacBook with an InfoWars sticker across the Apple logo. This was released on January 7th, immediately after the January 6th attack, and she went out of her way to really lambaste people who were calling this what it was, which is a riot or an insurrection. So let's give this a watch. This is the day after the January 6th events took place. Check this out.
It's time that we level up our show of force. And for those wussies that are sitting at home right now, that are watching their Fox News and CNN and watching their social media, and you pretend like you're a conservative, you pretend like you're Republican, and you're pretending like you're fighting the commies. And for you to sit there and buy into this MSM narrative, hook, line, and sinker, that we were so inappropriate and so embarrassing to you guys, and you are disgusted by our display, you are never a real patriot. You should be ashamed of yourself. How dare you throw these patriots that have been there all day yesterday and fighting the real commies? We're the ones at war fighting for you guys. How dare you say that you're ashamed of us? What kind of a patriot are you?
It was fascinating to listen to her say this at this moment because just a couple days later, things completely flipped. Over the course of the next month or two, she totally flipped her positions, and I believe in February, I'm not going to play this clip. I do have it, but I'm not going to play it right now. It's too long. She basically said she believed that the events of the January 6th riot were a false flag. We have her defending the January 6th rioters in this clip, and then like a month later, we have her saying it was a false flag set up by the deep state, the FBI, CIA, whoever else, to trap innocent Trump supporters. That was her belief in early February, I believe, is when that clip was from.
This plan was cooked up. I mean, obviously, all the markings of a trap, of a false flag. A lot of us fell for it. We thought it was innocent. We went there. We wanted to, fight for our President Trump and put pressure on them for the vote. But now they're using this as, okay, everyone is a Trump supporter, anyone is a conservative, anyone who has any ties to the NRA or any guns rights group, for God's sakes, is going to be branded a domestic terrorist. And that gives them free reign to punish us however they see fit. And that's the terrifying thing.
You can kind of see her like changing her beliefs over time a little bit. I'm not giving her a pass on any of this, though, because she still, to this day, as we'll see in a little while, we're going to cover the clips from her, still believes a lot of really harmful shit and continues to propagate it at any cost. The next clip from Deanna Lorraine I wanted to watch is a perfect example of her position on the vaccines. This one came out mid-September 2021. Give this a listen.
Now, what they're trying to do is sneak the COVID vaccine in your salads, right? So now they're trying to grow. I can't even believe we're talking about this right now. I can't believe this world we're living in, but they're trying to grow spinach and lettuce and other leafy greens with mRNA vaccine inside of those leaves.
Is that true? No, it's not. Was there an article on some pop science website about how this is scientifically possible to do? Yeah, there's all kinds of shit on those pop science websites. They say all kinds of stuff on there. All different manner of things are possible with science. But are there any scientists actually working on making this thing a reality? Not as far as I know. I haven't heard a word from any actual scientific organizations or nonprofits or even any scientists saying, we're working on this project, we want to make this happen. And why would they? Why would they try to put the vaccine into leafy greens? What would that really accomplish, honestly? When people can just walk in and get the shot. Nobody is interested in putting it into food. They haven't been this entire time. But notice what she said a minute ago.
Oh, what they're trying to do is sneak the COVID vaccine in your salads.
That implies intention. What they are trying to do. Who is they, first of all? Who is orchestrating this big secret mission to sneak a vaccine into your food? There's nobody out there trying to sneak anything into your food.
COVID vaccine in your salads. Consume your salad and you can get your daily, your yearly, or now it's about probably 3 times a year, COVID vaccine in your salad. And I think it's really funny because when you read these articles, which you can look up, it's trending today.
No, it was only trending in right-wing circles because people were freaking out about it. They thought they were trying to trick them into getting vaccinated. Like, they got these conspiratorial mindsets right now. Some pop science website publishes that this might be possible. That does not equate to people are actually literally taking action to make this happen. And then after they make this happen, they're going to try to sneak it in without you knowing. Those are 2 gigantic logical leaps that I do not subscribe to. And no reasonable person should.
Look up this vaccines in your salad situation, because they say in the article, we know that it's a really hard subject, vaccines. And we know that some people have a really hard time. They're afraid of needles, or they're this inconvenience in going to get your vaccine. Well, now we're going to make it possible for you to just get your vaccine in your salad.
Why would they do that when they can just put it in pill form and send it out to you? This is just pure, unadulterated fear-mongering from conspiracy theorists. So I wanted to give you guys an idea of who she is and what she believes before we get to the next clip. This next one came out mid-October 2021, so it's fairly recent. Give this one a listen.
Grandmother died, and we have a very special relationship. She's actually probably the only person in my family that understands things like the New World Order and the COVID agenda, etc.
I'm really sorry to hear that.
She passed away. Thank you. We have a special relationship. I was devastated by it. But she passed away suddenly last week.
That's actually sad to hear. Her grandmother died. I hate to hear when people say that their family member died. I'm sorry to hear that for Deanna Lorraine. I do feel for her. Whether she's a complete right-wing wingnut or not, I don't like to hear about anybody dying. That's That's sad. That's sad news to me. Interesting, though, that her grandmother was on board with the New World Order stuff. Like, my grandpa was in on all that stuff, too. So, I don't know. Is it a generational thing? This whole conspiracy theory shit about the New World Order and all this other stuff. Is it like a generational thing? I don't know. Anyway, let's keep listening.
Hey, thank you. We have a special relationship. I was devastated by it. But she passed away suddenly last week. Now, I flew down to be with her. But at the time I bought the ticket, I thought she was dying, not dead. But during the time that my flight was, she had passed away, sadly. I get there, and I haven't seen my own mother for almost 2 years because she refuses to see me because of the COVID.
Okay, so did she refuse to see you because of COVID? I mean, that's what she's saying here, right? It wasn't because you're a right-wing wingnut or anything, I assume. It was just because of COVID. I take that to mean that she doesn't hate her, like she still talks to her on the phone or whatever. It seems to me at face value that it was just because they were being careful. I have to imagine if it was for other reasons, then she would have stated those other reasons, right? I'm just trying to read what she's saying at its bare face and not speculate. Let's keep listening.
Years because she refuses to see me because of the COVID. And most of my other extended family members are there. I would think I'd be greeted with some sort of happiness that I'd showed up to be with my dead grandmother and grieve with them. But instead, my mother yelled at me in front of everybody and refused to talk to me the whole day, refused to touch me, to hug me. And the entire day was spent, instead of grieving my grandmother, it was focused on me being the only unvaccinated person out of the whole family. And I'm not lying, Stu, they treated me like a subhuman leper.
I understand what that's like, actually. I do. I 100% understand what it's like to be treated like a leper. This thing that she's doing, this hill that she's choosing to die on, not getting vaccinated, this is 100% her choice to do. They're dealing with somebody who was deathly ill. She was on the plane before her grandmother died. She was on her way to see her. And presumably her grandma is older, right? She was in poor health, obviously on her deathbed, and she was going to risk making things worse by coming unvaccinated. What's going through this person's head? Seriously, what is going through Deanna Lorraine's head that she thinks that this was a good idea? I understand Deanna Lorraine believes in QAnon. I understand she believes that the vaccine sheds and then, gets people killed and all that stuff. I understand that Deanna Lorraine is basically at this level with the vaccine. This guy is trying to convince his daughter to not get vaccinated by paying her off.
I don't want money, though.
I know you don't, but I don't know what else to do.
You didn't do this to Michael and Kelsey. They already got it.
Don't you think I know that? Don't you think I know that? Why do you think I'm fucking crazy? Your mother got it. Why do you think I'm fucking crazy? My family is gone. My family is gone. By the end of this flu season, most of you will be dead. What the fuck do you expect me to be?
I get that Deanna Lorraine is that level of concerned about the vaccine, bizarrely, when there's absolutely no evidence to support her being that wound up and freaked out about it. But that doesn't excuse coming to a family gathering where people are grieving over one of the family members dying, and you're coming unvaccinated. That doesn't excuse it. If you wanted to do your grieving and meeting with them through Zoom, I would be 100% down for that, and if they mistreated you at that point, I would be upset. Freedom comes with responsibility. You have to be responsible and careful and protect the people around you. We get vaccinated to protect society at large. I have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? You don't have a right to take my life away. You can't kill me. That's illegal, right? Murder is against the law. And it's not a violation of your rights when the state prevents you from killing me. It's a protection of my rights. In the same vein, if the state mandates that you get vaccinated, it's a protection of my right to life and health, not a violation of your rights. These anti-vaxxers desperately want to flip this around and blame other people for their stupid fuck-ups, for their stupid mistakes. They want to blame everybody else for their bad decisions. I'm not going to let her flip this around on everybody else. She is at fault for putting people's lives in danger. Interestingly enough, though, Deanna Lorraine actually has had her time questioning a lot of these ideas and ideologies. This is after Biden was inaugurated, a couple weeks after. Give this clip a watch and see what Deanna Lorraine has to say.
People are getting upset at me, some people, because they think, Deanna, you need to just trust the plan. Q said to trust the plan. President Trump is just waiting for the right moment to pounce and make his attack, and everything's going to be taken care of. The military is going to arrest Joe Biden and take over, and then Trump will be back in charge.
Isn't it like fucking disturbing that people are actually sitting here wringing their hands, hoping desperately that the military basically destroys the existing government and installs a dictator? Is that not disturbing to anybody else?
Nobody, I've been a follower of this idea and this plan since day one for years, and I've had President Trump's back since day one and sacrificed a lot for it. Lots of family, friends, work, money, everything.
In hindsight, her saying she sacrificed family, money, and all that other stuff, I understand, I understand what it's like for family not to want to deal with you. But I'm having a hard time feeling sympathy for Deanna Lorraine specifically, because she is so completely down a rabbit hole at this point that I can't even see her from where we are. She legit believes Hillary Clinton is out there capturing immigrant kids, and she thinks she's omnoming them. Seriously. How completely disconnected from reality can you get? It's bizarre. And she believes this to the bottom of her heart and does everything she can to spread it, and ran for fucking Congress on these issues. How far can somebody go down a rabbit hole before it is okay to not deal with them anymore? If your kid was an axe murderer, would it be okay to not deal with that kid anymore? Obviously it would be. It seems to me it would be okay to not deal with the kid if they were an axe murderer. If they were having such a completely detrimental effect on society, they were literally getting people killed, by the thousands. Possibly Deanna Lorraine is, every time she goes on Stu Peters' show and talks about all this stuff about where they're trying to inject the vaccine into salads and stuff. She's certainly got at least a few people killed with her propaganda, and she continues to do it. Is it okay to not deal with this person anymore? This is a challenging question, for me especially. When is it okay to not deal with somebody anymore? In my opinion, if they are doing direct harm to your mental health, it's okay to not deal with them anymore. Coming from the history that I've come from, being shunned by my friends and family that I grew up with, I'm particularly sensitive to the plight of people being shunned, and I am willing to go pretty far to try to mend fences. Pretty fucking far. I will try to mend fences with just about anybody because of my history. I'll probably go too far trying to mend fences because I've been shunned and tossed aside and mistreated my whole life, all thanks to religion. But I think it's okay for you to cut ties with somebody if they're hurting you mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever. Let's keep listening.
Money, everything. But, we also have to be realistic at the same time. I, for one, am sick of just looking at clues and taking guesses and kind of following down a rabbit hole where it leads to nothing.
Yeah, that's actually so fucking surprising to hear Deanna Lorraine say. Again, this came out in early February 2021, and she has said more unhinged stuff since then, so don't think this gets her a free pass. It absolutely does not. Let's keep listening.
You can hope for something to happen and pray for a miracle to happen for a country, but you can also look at the facts in front of us today and the reality and be grounded in that reality at the same time so that you can prepare your heart and you can prepare your life accordingly. I mean, I think that's the only smart thing to do. That's what a patriot does. And also, a patriot doesn't blindly follow a plan. The only person that we should blindly follow is God, is Jesus. But we shouldn't be blindly following anything or anyone, especially when there's no evidence for that plan ever materializing. Every time that this plan was supposed to happen, or Trump was supposedly playing 5D chess and supposedly setting traps or about to do this, at no point in the last 4 years has that trap ever been closed. Has the chess move ever been checkmated by Trump? No, none of these hopes and ideas have ever been fulfilled. Not one. So a smart person looks at the evidence, looks at historical evidence, looks at a track record, and doesn't keep doing or wishing something that has no evidence for it being able to materialize.
Wow. That's actually a pretty big fucking deal. This woman turned on Donald Trump, basically, and turned on QAnon. I mean, not fully. She is still parroting a lot of their talking points. She still kind of follows the movements around, goes to all the rallies, and still says all the same shit that they say, still supports them, if not directly, then indirectly. So she doesn't get a pass on this. But I was honestly surprised to see her make these logical conclusions as time went on. A lot of people, when Joe Biden got inaugurated, were watching the inauguration on One American News Network, expecting Biden to be arrested by the military before the inauguration actually took place. During the ceremony, they thought he'd be arrested by the military. That is a level of disconnected from reality that I can't even comprehend. These people have been lied to and propagandized to for who knows how long. Long before Trump, Fox News was doing this shit back in the early 2000s, even earlier than that. All it needed really was just one guy to come along and take the reins of power and point him in a direction. And Donald Trump just so happened to be that guy. That's all it took to turn it into a full-blown cult. Now, every now and then you get people like Deanna Lorraine presenting some questions, kind of poking at it a little bit and saying, I've lost friends and family over this. None of the moves have ever been checkmated. What happened? But in the end, they just keep on keeping on. They keep on being the Republican extremists they always were. Once you bring people to that mindset that is required to be in a cult, even if they leave the cult, breaking out of that mindset is difficult. That's why you see a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, active Jehovah's Witnesses. For some reason, I don't know why this is, they're gossips. They're all gossips. They all want to talk about what's happening in the congregation constantly. And poke at people and say they're not spiritual enough and we can't hang out with them because they didn't go in service this Saturday or some other shit like that. They're all gossips. And when they get out of the religion, they're still gossips. I don't know why, but there is some crazy level of toxicity in the ex-Jehovah's Witness community. I've never been victim to it. They've never targeted me, but my God, dude, have I seen some real crazy shit coming out of the XJW community. They get needlessly aggressive sometimes. Breaking that mindset is a challenge in itself. Even if you break them out of the cult and make them see it for what it is, breaking them out of that mindset is just another layer. It's just another layer. Even if Deanna Lorraine gave up on Donald Trump and QAnon and all the other shit, we still have to find a way to break her out of this mindset. It's an uphill battle.